For the record, I'm not actually going to be roasting any of these. It just sounds cool for the title. What's going on, everyone? It's Mr. Nostalgia here. How's everyone doing? Better than me, I hope. For the past year, I've been making content for the most part about one specific movie or show each video. But today, I wanted to switch things up. We've reached that point every year on Twitter where everyone tweets engagement farming stuff like say something bad about this show or what cartoon opinion will have you like this. And honestly, I'm not mad at it. It's led to some really fun discussions about stuff that you normally don't get the chance to talk about. So since the year is winding down and I'm currently working on multiple videos, including one very large one that will be announced soon, I have decided to slow things down for this one. Take a little break from the standard movie or show review to discuss your Nickelodeon hot takes, inspired by the current trend going on Twitter. I'm not calling it X, I refuse to. I get to finally use this time to talk about stuff on my channel that I probably won't ever get the chance to do ever again, so yeah. I asked you guys for some Nickelodeon hot takes on my community page, and I plan on using those for this video, while also discussing some of my own as well. Without any further ado, let's see what you guys had to say. Real quick, today's video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. If you're looking for a comfortable and stylish workspace, FlexiSpot has you covered. They have a wide variety of desks to choose from, including the Pro Series and Comar Series. The Pro Series, for instance, has tons of great features like its insanely good stability, even when it's at its highest level. It also features a variety of height adjustments, so you can find the perfect position for your needs. The Comar Series, on the other hand, is a nice, neat, and compact corner desk that also can be adjusted for whatever use you may need. And it comes with 3 USB ports, so you can charge your phone and other devices right next to you while you get your work done, and it is a great option for those who want a stylish and functional desk. It features a sleek design and a variety of storage options, so you can keep your workspace organized. Both series of desks are made with high quality materials that come with a warranty, so you can be sure they'll last. And right now, FlexiSpot is offering a special discount to my viewers. Just use the code on the screen and in the description to get an exclusive offer at checkout to save on your purchase. So if you're looking for a new desk, be sure to check out FlexiSpot. You won't be disappointed. And thanks again, FlexiSpot, for sponsoring this video. Hot take number 1. Big Time Rush is extremely underrated, both the show and their music. I'm actually a Big Time Rush fan. I still unironically listen to their music pretty often and occasionally will go back to watch the show. That being said, I'm not sure that I can classify them as underrated simply because of the fact that Big Time Rush is easily one of Nick's most popular sitcoms ever. The ratings were consistently pretty good, and I think the only reason why it ended after 4 seasons was simply because the cast was getting too old for Nickelodeon. I mean, season 4 is borderline unwatchable. These were literally grown men. If your show is successful enough to get a movie and got really good ratings throughout its entire run, and even now still has enough significance to the point where people actually talk about it, then me personally, I can't consider it underrated. Still a fire show though, with great music. Hot take number 2. Unfortunately, without Dan Schneider live action, Nick is going downhill. I don't agree with this because even when Dan Schneider was with Nick during the Sam and Cat, Henry Danger, and Game Shakers era, it still wasn't good, at least not to me. Hot take number 3. The relaunch of All That from 2002 to 2005 is just as good as the original and deserves more love. Nah, sorry man, I can't agree with that one. Have you ever tried to watch an episode of All That from like season 10 or 9? It's pretty bad. I think the thing with All That is that, like, admittedly, it wasn't the writing that always made the show funny, but the actors themselves. Like, the original cast was just so insanely talented, they really did bring those characters to life. The relaunch cast wasn't horrible, but like, it was definitely a downgrade. I will say though, I found it very odd that they decided to slightly change the intro in the later seasons. Like, in the original intro, it sounded like, but in the relaunch, it sounded like why the emphasis on the check it? I never understood that. Hot take number 4. Ned's Declassified is better than Drake and Josh. I do not agree with that one. However, I do still really like Ned's, and it's definitely in my top 5 favorite Nickelodeon sitcoms, for sure. I do, however, put Ned's over iCarly and Victorious. I suppose that's one of my personal hot takes. Better characters, better story, and better writing. Scott Fellows is really underrated, and I honestly think he's better than Dan Schneider, in my personal opinion. Hot take number 5. iCarly was never that funny to begin with. It was the start of the we just need to do random things and kids will laugh concept everyone criticizes modern Nickelodeon for, but for some reason everyone ignores that. They're not ready for that conversation, Gabriel. I like your profile picture, by the way. iCarly relied on the same random humor that was used in shows like Henry Danger and Game Shakers, especially those later seasons. Don't get me wrong, I think iCarly is better than those two shows, but in terms of writing, you could really see that the Henry Danger style of writing was starting to creep up in the later seasons of iCarly, as Dan Schneider, I guess, was transitioning into that brand of just really awkward and random humor. People give iCarly a pass because it's older and they grew up with it, but hate on Danger and Shakers because they were for another generation. And enough time has passed to the point where we're slowly starting to see the same thing happen with the kids that grew up with the Danger and Shakers era, where they praise those shows but talk down on shows like Side Hustle, or Warped, whatever's on Nick now. Hot take number 6. My one hot take on Nickelodeon is that All Grown Up is a solid, worthy follow-up to Rugrats. It does not deserve the hate that it gets. Yes, yes, yes. All Grown Up is in my top 5 favorite Nicktoons, and you guys hate on it way too much. I'm definitely going to make a video on this show soon. Y'all gotta stay tuned, because I love this show. I think it introduced a lot of interesting things to the Rugrats characters. Some of it didn't work, but a good chunk of it did. I'm gonna save it for the review though. I can't let anything leak too early. Just know this is at least an A-tier Nicktoon in my opinion. Hot take number 7. A hot take with Nick was when the awesome duo of Zeke and Luther grinded down the stairs of awesome into the arms of Disney and Nick. Was their all soured face in the presence of the legends that is of Zeke and Luther. Blast coat of arms by the life and the times. All of it. I agree with all of it. Every single word, even the one spelled incorrectly. That was a joke though. Shout out to Dead Ned 1034. Hot take number 8. Drake and Josh is highly overrated by nostalgia. Jacob, I'm not sure I can have your back on this one, dude. Look, I mean, as someone that tries not to be blinded by nostalgia, I think Drake and Josh, for the most part, still holds up really well. I mean, this show is still one of the funniest things Nick has ever made, in my opinion. It's extremely memorable and quotable, and overall is a good time. It makes me question how Dan Schneider created Drake and Josh and Game Shakers, because the quality separating both is crazy.
Go get Babe some apple juice.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, Kenzie.
What?
Did you say apple juice or chicken breast?
I'd like to know in the comments though why exactly you feel this way. What issues do you have with this series? Because this show is still laugh out loud hilarious to me. I don't know. Hot take number 9. Rugrats wasn't all that scary to me. It was surreal, but not scary as everyone claimed it to be. Who was out here getting scared by Rugrats though? Besides like the I'm not Stu and the episode with the big baby, or maybe even the episode where Tommy's stuffing comes out, I never got the vibe that Rugrats was a scary show. Preschool Days, on the other hand, has some horrible designs. I could definitely see someone being scared of that show. For this last one, we're going to go back to talking about Scott Fellows. This user says that Scott Fellows shows are way underappreciated. Big Time Rush, my favorite Nickelodeon show and band, way too underrated. 100 Things to Do Before High School deserved more than one season. It was a good show. So I actually already shared my thoughts on BTR earlier, but I will however talk about 100 Things. 100 Things to Do Before High School, I think, is a really underrated series, and it was unlike anything on the network at the time. And yes, it was obviously meant to be Ned's Classified for the kids today, or technically the kids from 8 years ago, but I like that approach. That is what you call a spiritual sequel, a show that isn't actually a reboot of another show, but instead is just made in the same or at least similar vein. We need less reboots and more spiritual sequels, especially if they turn out like this show. And although it's been a while since I've seen it, I do have really fond memories of it because of how different it was from the other shows on the network like Henry Danger and Game Shakers. It was a lot more wholesome and didn't have any of the, well, Dan Schneider-y jokes. It was really charming, had a lot of heart, and is probably the last Nick sitcom that I've seen that I would consider to be good. And yeah, it's unfortunate it only had one season because it definitely deserved more. Tell you what though, at least it put Isabella on the map. I mean, now she's playing Hawkgirl in the new Superman movie, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back from commercial, we will be going over some of my hot takes and talk about why I feel the way that I do about them.
We'll be right back.
Hey,
Amy, how's it going?
Pretty good. Little traffic on the 405. I'll be up in about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Are you stuck again?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? All right, give me something. Here we go. Come on. You gotta want it. Here we go. There you go, sweetie.
Thanks. I gotta lay off the corn chips.
Nicktoons Network. We really get into character.
Now, back to the show.
Okay, so one of my biggest hot takes, I would say, is that to me, there is literally no logical reason for SpongeBob to end. Hear me out. Whenever I see discourse about this topic online, it's always from adults that believe a show meant for 6 to 12-year-olds should be canceled because they personally do not like it. And I think they kind of forget the fact that these shows are made for children. Whatever happens to those shows are 100% determined by how much children, aka the demographic, are watching them. I understand not thinking the newer seasons are on par with the first few, but to think the entire show should be canceled because of that when there are obviously still children watching it never made sense to me. Kids are still watching the show, kids are still buying the merch and playing the video games of it. The day SpongeBob stops becoming a profitable franchise is the day we will see it end. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon with the announcement of a new movie and a Sandy spin-off movie being made, and I'm looking forward to both of them. Then there's also the argument that SpongeBob should have ended when Steven Hillenburg, the creator, died, despite the fact that he literally gave the cast and crew his blessings to continue the show in the way that they had been doing so. And I guess what's even more so a hot take is that I have no issues with the spin-offs that they've been doing. Matter of fact, I actually enjoy the Patrick Star Show from what I've seen of it. Multiple sources, including people who worked on the show, have said that Steven was in fact aware of the spin-offs being made. But even if he wasn't, he sold the show to Nickelodeon, meaning that Nickelodeon legally could do just about anything they wanted with the franchise. He never actually said he didn't want spin-offs to happen, he just said he didn't see any happening. And as Vincent Waller pointed out, he also didn't have any interest in doing a movie, yet he worked on all 3 of them to some capacity. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I think this is just something people are going to have to keep in mind from now on. My other hot take is that objectively, there is no golden era of Nickelodeon. Again, hear me out. Whenever you ask someone their thoughts on when they think Nickelodeon started to decline in quality, if you notice, the answer is almost always when they personally got older and stopped watching the network. 90% of the time at least. I've seen people in their 30s say that Nickelodeon fell off when Kenan and Kel ended and that shows like iCarly aren't even watchable. I've seen people in their 20s say that Nickelodeon fell off when iCarly ended and that shows like Game Shakers aren't watchable. And now, we've reached a point where people are feeling nostalgic for shows like Henry Danger and Game Shakers. I've seen posts on Instagram using clips of these shows and the top comment is oftentimes something like, "Oh yeah, this is back when Nickelodeon was watchable." Like, hello? But that's kind of always what's going to happen. 10 years from now, people are going to be unironically praising shows like Young Dylan and Side Hustle. People are always going to have fond memories of the shows that aired when they were kids because it reminds them of when life was good. Now, with that being said, most of Nick's critically acclaimed shows came between the years 1991 and 2010. So to some extent, those 19 years might have been Nick's best. But at the end of the day, it is still subjective, so it's pointless to try to argue that with someone. Me personally though, I've always chose to appreciate the good in every era. I like All That, Kenan and Kel, and Clarissa Explains It All. I also like Big Time Rush, Drake and Josh, and Ned's Declassified. I also kinda enjoyed Bella and the Bulldogs and 100 Things to Do Before High School, and currently, I like watching the Patrick Star Show. There is good and bad in every era, and once people realize this, maybe, just maybe, will the earth heal a bit. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Just Jordan is better than every single Nickelodeon show ever made, and so is Zeke Luther. I'm Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now. Peace.